Welcome back to Colorado and Company. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Saturday marked the 20th anniversary of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. Americans were starting to take traveling to space for granted until the day the shuttle blew up.
Dr. Jay Keyworth was President Reagan's science advisor for 20 years ago. And he's in Colorado to speak at CU tonight about policy, politics, and science in the White House. He joins us now. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So tell us exactly what is a science advisor to the president? What do you do?
Well, the president has a small staff of people who report directly to him, and some of them are experts in foreign policy, some of them are experts in politics, and nowadays you need somebody who's an expert in science and technology, and that's what the science advisor is.
Sure.
How fascinating it was to work closely with Ronald Reagan. And was he also very interested into space exploration?
Well, Ronald Reagan was interested in the future, a very positive, a very can-do attitude. And so he was interested in the space program in the extent that he loved the Apollo program. And he loved the sense of progress that's intrinsic in the space program.
So what role did you play in the development of the American involvement in the space station?
Well, you're probably going to be a little bit surprised at my response, because I was probably the most outspoken opponent of the space station.
Really?
And in fact, I was probably largely responsible for delaying our support of the space station for 4 years. Wow. No, I wanted a much more invigorating, much more uplifting step in the space program. We had done a space station in the 70s called Skylab, and you can see it, a replica of it in the Air and Space Museum in Washington. And what I wanted to see was something that really pushed the frontiers of technology in space, which the space station definitely did not do.
What would you have done different?
Oh, I would have advocated either a first step as a return to Moon or the manned Mars mission. Those were real challenges and very exciting. And the space program in the United States had always been, we can do anything. And the space station was, if I may be a little cynical, was basically a motel in the sky for retired astronauts.
Oh, okay. So what is the future of our space station now?
Well, people are going to have to decide, in a manned Mars mission, do we use a space station as a launching point, or do we go to the moon? One way or the other. We're going to need some kind of an access point in space. But the first thing we need to do that is we need a space launch, a space access vehicle that's much better than the old shuttle is.
That's very interesting. So now President Bush has announced that he would like to see a manned mission to Mars. Do you think we'll see that happen?
Not on his watch, because it'll take a long time. Yes, I do. I think so. I think the American people love to ask whether man is necessary in space exploration. The point is, that's what the American people want. And if that's what they want, I think manned Mars mission is the next logical step to do. And I think we know how to do it. We don't have all the tools, but I think it's well within our capability. We can do it.
What would the challenges be?
Well, we need to develop a new vehicle, what people call a single stage to orbit, like an airplane almost. It can fly into low Earth orbit. The hardest thing to do is just to get up into low Earth orbit. That's the biggest step. We need a way to do it cheaply and reliably, safely, and repeatedly. And we know how to do that. We just need to take the step in a few years to develop it, and we can do it.
Now, we know that there are these rovers that took a mission there called Spirit and Opportunity, mission to Mars. Now, what's the advantage to having a manned mission as opposed to something like that?
You know, as a scientist, I can't really give you an advantage. It's much more emotional and intuitive than that. It's a spirit of exploration. We want to see a human being on Mars.
We certainly do. Look at these fantastic photographs that we're showing right now. It's just amazing. There's so much out there. You know, the anniversary of Challenger disaster was last week. What future do you see for the space shuttle program now?
I would hope that the space shuttle program is as quickly as possible replaced by a much more modern and safer vehicle. The space shuttle was quite controversial in the 60s, before my day, when it was first conceived. It was not a new technology at the time. Of course, lots of new technologies have been incorporated into it, but it's really a very, very old concept. We can do a lot better than that.
Yeah. So now you will be speaking to students this evening. What message would you like them to take away?
I'd like them to take away a very different message than this. I think there are a lot of complex problems in the world today, and scientific inquiry, where we simply seek to have the very best knowledge and come up with the very best solution for situations, I think is is too often being replaced by sort of a concept of political correctness. And I want to encourage them to continue to have the ancient respect for scientific inquiry, debate, public debate over issues even like the one we're talking about here, about a manned Mars mission.
Right. Now you're a proud papa, so maybe your son's even watching, but you have a son at CU. He's a professor.
Yes, he is.
When you go ahead and say hi to him, he might even be watching.
Hi, George.
And he's a professor in what field?
He's a sinologist. He's an expert in Chinese Buddhism.
Wow.
And he speaks Chinese. He's a Chinese historian. Actually, he's fascinated by anything Asian.
And that was after you taking him to China a few times, huh?
Yes, but of course it's been all his choice and his career and his advancement. I'm very proud of him.
So, growing up, he obviously had a passion, but do you think that other young people have enough to get them inspired with science and even at the university level?
It's, of course, all parents want to have children who are happy at what they do.
Sure.
And it's, unfortunately, of course, it's not all that likely. I think there are wonderful, exciting challenges in science and technology for careers today. We need to do a better job of teaching people. Physics and math can be taught beautifully. Very few people know how to do it. We need to be better at it. But they're not the only careers. There are a lot of exciting careers. My son enjoys his career just as much as I enjoyed physics.
That's good. Well, it was an honor to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
George Keyworth II will be speaking tonight at CU, and it's part of a free lecture series. It's titled Policy, Politics, and Science in the White House. The event's at 7 o'clock in room 270 at the Hell Science Building. For more details, go online to sciencepolicy.colorado.edu/science-advisors.
Okay, coming up next on Colorado and Company, we'll meet a Denver author who wrote 7 Steps to Success I Learned from Homeless People.
And later, it's the NBC hit comedy you might think is about your life. We're going to talk to the stars of The Office when we come right back.